Hey, today we're talking about how you can get rid of fillers. We're going to look at 10 things that you can do to either get rid of or at least reduce the amount of fillers that you use when you are speaking in English. So if that's something that you would like to do, let's get started. So first of all, what exactly are fillers? Now, fillers are the words, the phrases, and the sounds that we make to either buy time or just fill the silence when we're speaking. So things like, these are examples of common fillers. Now, why do we actually use fillers when we speak? Sometimes it might be because you're translating in your head, translating from your language to English. Sometimes it's because you might be thinking about what the other person might think of whatever you're going to say. Sometimes it's because we feel like we have to fill the silence when we're speaking. We sometimes feel like silence or pauses are not good, so we just fill them with fillers. And sometimes we're simply thinking. Our brain is just loading and we're processing the next thing that we want to say. So there are quite a few different reasons why we use fillers when we speak. And of course, it is natural to use them to an extent. But we want to be careful not to overuse fillers or overdo it when we are speaking. So how can we get rid of fillers or at least reduce them? I've put together this list of 10 things that you can do or 10 steps that you can follow. And I assure you that these strategies and techniques do work because I actually used them firsthand. When I was in college, I took a speech course, and one of the areas that I worked on was actually reducing the fillers in my speech. So if you listen to my lessons or you watch my videos over on Instagram, you probably noticed that I don't really use that many fillers, even when I speak for an extended period of time. And this is something that I consciously worked on and learned how to improve. So I promise you that if this is an issue for you, it is also an area that you can improve. Okay, so the very first thing that you need to do is record yourself speaking for at least 2 minutes fluently and continuously about any topic at all, and then count the number of fillers that you use. This is a very important step because you first of all need to become aware of how often you are actually using fillers in your speech. It's very difficult for you to become aware while you're actually speaking. You need to listen back to your speech and actually take a tally, physically count every single time that you use fillers in 2 minutes. Now, unfortunately, you are probably going to use them more often than you realize, but that's okay. This is a really important first step because you first need to become aware of how often you're actually using fillers, and this way you can track your progress and gradually learn to use them less and less. So the next step is to listen to your recording again and actually make a list of the filler words or phrases that you hear yourself using. So it might be or so, or like, or or basically, whatever phrases you are using, just make a list of them. And the purpose of this is to, again, make yourself aware. When you physically see a list of these phrases in front of you, you will become more conscious of the fact that you are using them in your speech. Now, your next step is going to be to speak out loud or to practice a presentation or deliver a presentation out loud. And every time you are about to say your filler words, you literally stop yourself and you say stop or pause out loud instead. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. So you need to practice giving a presentation or speaking. Every time you catch yourself about to say or whatever your words or phrases are, instead you replace these words with stop or pause. You actually say stop or pause out loud. I know that at first that last step can be very difficult. It might not come naturally to you, and that's understandable. So another great option is to get a friend or a family member to help you with this step. So here's what you have to do. Get someone to help you. They basically just need to listen to you speak. And every single time you use your filler words, you say or or like, or whatever your words or phrases are, your listener needs to ring a bell or press a buzzer or squeeze a squeaky toy or make some kind of noise to alert you and basically interrupt your speech, okay? And this is going to physically recondition your brain to again become aware of when you're actually using these fillers and then to stop yourself. So it's awesome if you can get someone to help you with this step. If you don't have anyone you can ask, you can also do this on your own. And if you do it on your own, you need to just be really aware or learn to become aware or try to become aware of when you are actually using fillers when you speak. That might take some time, but it is possible. I have done it. But I would recommend, if at all possible, to get someone to help you with this step at first. Now, once you are comfortable with interrupting yourself and saying stop and pause, when you get used to this, the next step is to actually physically stop speaking. Don't say anything. Stop yourself from speaking. Be quiet, pause, take a breath, and then continue speaking. Now, at first, this might feel a little bit unnatural, a little uncomfortable and awkward, because we often think like, why would I stop speaking in the middle of a sentence, in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of a story? That's weird, right? But that's not actually the case. In fact, if you listen to professional speakers or motivational speakers or those powerful speakers who you really like, you will probably notice that many of them actually pause quite often when they're speaking. And this is a very effective tool to retain your audience's attention. If you use pauses at the right time and you learn to control yourself when you pause and so on, your audience or your listener will pause and wait for you to continue. So pauses can actually be a very, very effective tool, especially in public speaking. Another thing that you can do is to group your phrases together instead of focusing on the individual words that you are saying. So for example, let's say I ask you, how was your weekend? And you say, my weekend was great. I saw some friends and we went to a Chinese restaurant, and it was good, but it was expensive. So if you listen to this, there's nothing wrong with the answer. It's not wrong, but you can basically see and hear that I'm thinking about each word and the information as I am speaking. You can literally see it and hear it. Instead, I want to group my words together into little phrases, and I want to just think about the next phrase that I'm going to say instead of the next word I'm going to say. So it could sound like this instead. My weekend was great. Pause, stop, think. I went to a Chinese restaurant with some friends. It was a little expensive, but it was good. Okay, so you can see the difference clearly here about when I think of the next phrase I'm gonna say instead of just the next word that I'm gonna say. And our next point is to keep your sentences themselves shorter. This way you can get your whole idea across without interrupting it. And the longer your sentences are, the higher the chance for you to use fillers and to make mistakes. So generally when you're speaking, it's totally okay to keep your sentences short. Remember that verbal communication and written communication are not the same. So if your sentences are short, it's going to be easier for people to follow, and it's going to be less likely that you will make mistakes, and there will be a lower chance for you to use fillers. So keep your sentences short. The next tip, you must set aside time to practice. You absolutely need time to practice all of the strategies that I'm telling you today. It actually only takes a few minutes of practice a day, but it is impossible to improve this specific point without physically practicing it. So make sure that you devote some time, even 10 minutes a day, to practicing the reduction of your fillers, and I promise you, you will see results. The next tip, do not stress. Don't stress out about what feels like long pauses to you when you are speaking. I promise you that those pauses don't sound as long to your listener. A lot of times we feel like we just have to fill every single second in a conversation, and that's not the case. If we're engaged in a conversation with someone and they pause, but we're interested in what's happening or we're interested in the information that they're sharing with us, of course, we're going to pause and wait for them to continue, right? It's not like the conversation is going to come to an end. But for some reason, a lot of us just freak out or panic or stress when there's silence. Silence can be stressful or awkward or strange or uncomfortable. But again, if you train yourself not to stress, specifically when you are working on eliminating your fillers, this will really, really help you. And last, but certainly not least, slow down. Sometimes we use fillers when we're nervous or when we speak fast. When I am personally nervous, I tend to speak a lot faster, and that's also when fillers tend to creep back into my speech. There's so many benefits to slowing down when you speak, especially when it comes to reducing fillers. Slowing down your speech consciously allows you to hear yourself, to listen to yourself, to catch your mistakes, to become aware of your fillers, and to stop yourself from using them. If you speak too fast, this is much more difficult. Slowing down also calms your nerves, and it makes it easier for your listener to follow you and to follow what you're saying. I have also consciously learned to slow my speech down through practice. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not speaking abnormally slow. It's just that I used to speak too fast, especially when I was nervous or stressed. I would just talk and just spew my words out, and it wasn't great. I sounded kind of like I was all over the place. And once I became aware of this, I realized, okay, I don't sound calm and collected or confident, and I don't like this, and I want to change it. So slowing my speech down consciously has now become something that I naturally do. Now, the tips from today's lesson will help you to improve your overall conversation skills. And if that is something that you are trying to do, make sure that you grab my free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. This will help you to have more confident and natural conversations in English. It's totally free. You can get your copy by clicking the link below today's video. So let me know if you have any questions on this topic. Leave them in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you so much for watching, for learning, and for spending time with me today. And I'll see you very soon in another one.